I don't know, hopefully walk away and just feeling like camaraderie, like you're not alone. And also like everything we're doing in terms of engagement, which is our topic tonight, especially virtual and all of those kind of different settings. Hopefully, you get some ideas, but again, just a sense of connection. That's our goal with this series. So I'm super excited. Marcy, would you like to, and my name is Meredith White and I teach just outside of Atlanta. You can see my little name on there, but I'm in Gwinnett County and I teach Spanish 1 and 2. Marcy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Marcy Webb, and I'm in Connecticut. I live in Bloomfield, but I teach at a small independent school in Hartford. Hartford is the capital of Connecticut. And it is a grade 6 through 12 independent day school with a postgraduate program for students who finished high school and need another year. And I teach the range of students in terms of ability. I also teach 6th graders, Spanish 1, 7th grade Spanish 1. I teach an 8th grade Spanish 1. And I teach
all of it.
A lot of Spanish 1. And I teach Spanish 4. So I go from basic beginners to not really beginners, but a range of skills. Yeah.
Right. Wow. I know. And I feel like after this year too, we always talk about alignment, with language teachers, because it's like, I've never taught another content, but, well, I kind of have, but it didn't go well. So we just say it didn't happen. But I feel like language teachers in terms of level to level, like you just said, like when you've got 1, when you've got 3, 2, 4, 5, whatever it is, I feel like that's an area we could get better at, like together working on, is because, it's like going from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 is the level where you see people go, oh, who'd you have last year? Senora went, okay. And it's like, what'd you just do with your tone right there? That was weird. Like, why did you make that face, kind of a thing? So I love that you have kind of the ends. In our department, we call it like the end, like the ladder. Like you've got the top and the bottom, which, do you feel like it helps you? Obviously we're talking engagement tonight, but do you feel like it helps you, I don't know, like engage your students, assess your students, plan for your students?
Yeah, because I've taught many of them when they were in 6th or 7th or 8th grade. In some cases, I've taught them for 2 years in the middle school division.
Wow.
And then I'm seeing them after 2 or 3 years as high school students, level 4 students. And it's interesting to see what their growth has been, what their experiences have been. And to see the influences of other colleagues on them as emerging Spanish language students. So
Absolutely. No, 100%. I think we've talked in the past, like I said, in my department, I'm in a department of 14. So it's like a lot of people. And 8 of those 14 are Spanish teachers. So you've got to have those hard conversations about like, okay, what are they expected to do at this next level? What are they expected to know? Like whatever that means. And also making sure that you're not planting seeds of, oh, you had Miss Gutierrez. Oh, like kind of a thing. And it's like, or the opposite, like, hola, senora, I love you, miss you. I hate level 3. And you're like, shut up. She can hear you. Like she's right there. That kind of thing. Cause that gets, awkward. And the upper level people are often looking down the ladder going, come on. They need to be higher. And the lower level people are like, but did you see all that they learned? We're pushing them up the ladder. So yeah, that's hard. Definitely hard.
Well, and I think in terms of engagement, you want to honor what your colleagues have done with those students when after a gap of 2 or 3 years. And while you may not be in full agreement with their methods or their practices, they did learn something. In fact, they probably learned more than the students are recognizing. Oh, they didn't teach us anything. Well, no,
right.
They did.
We never spoke Spanish.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, you keep it positive, you keep it upbeat, because, it's not professional, obviously, to slander your colleagues.
Right. Even if you like, I didn't mean anything. You can look later. Like you can look in course history and be like, oh my God, they don't know anything. Like, oh, they had Meredith, geez Louise, just be discreet. Like you don't have to ask the kid. So you're allowed to be like, you know, like,
Right.
why are they asking in level 3? Like, how do I know if it's an AR verb? You know, like, I have questions. No, 100%, but I'm absolutely writing down that. Honor what your colleagues have done. I think that's super important. Oof. Yeah. Wowza. Shoot, you made me think of something. What was it? Darn it, I lost it. I had a thought. It was great. This is like all the time now. I'm like, we've reached this age. Anyway, doesn't matter. No, I agree. So I've got some, I told Marcy beforehand, I was like, I have some pre-prepared, very spicy questions. You've also got the chat. So unless things get real spicy and, sexy in the chat, it will be open publicly, of course. And so, yeah, Milan, I'm watching you. Don't get spicy in the chat. So feel free to throw your questions. And that's actually what I was typing, that we have some questions ready. But so thinking about engagement, feel free to put them, pose them in the chat and we'll be able to kind of reference. My first question, Marcy, for you is knowing, regardless of setting, and I'm looking at my notes here, and knowing kind of what you just said, like honoring what your colleagues have done, honoring that this year is going to be weird, what special brand of jerk is next year going to be like, you didn't learn that in level 2? It was a pandemic. Like, are you kidding me? No, we missed Sarah and a star. Like, okay, sorry. So honoring what people have done, but also looking at this experience overall, what do you feel like in terms of engagement, in terms of face-to-face, virtual, and I guess speaking to your situation, I know we were talking earlier one-on-one about our different settings. What would you say you've seen engagement be like throughout all of this? Well, or the lack thereof, because I'm going to be real honest with my engagement or the lack thereof.
Well, I have to say that a lot, at least from my experience, I teach at a small independent day school. When I say small, it's a population of 240 students. And so I think that when we were looking at the reentry plan, and I was on that committee last summer, preparing for the reentry and talking about engagement and all those things, I think it's been due in large part to all the planning that we did before. And I think that, every school has a culture, right? And so I think that, part of what Watkinson is as a school, I think helps to create a culture where every student is seen. I mean, you really can't hide, in a class of, say, 16 kids.
Right.
Online or in person. But all that to say, I think that, we've done a really good job of, connecting with families on a weekly basis. There's an advisory structure that meets every day, at the beginning and at the end of the day. And I think that because we do get to know students, quite well, because it is a small school where we do teach the same students more than 1 year. It could be 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
So I think that we do get to know students on a level where there is, I think, more of a personal connection.
Yeah, I think that's, you didn't say the word relationships, but relationships, is especially like, when we say that, like, it's all about relationships, but like kids don't learn well from people they don't super like, or like, no, there's something to be said for, I'm going to practice. And I know, like, if I'm late, coach so-and-so is gonna, freak out or make me run more or whatever. Do you think your school culture, we've got a couple questions in the chat about cameras. And I know, like, it's right. It's like become like a 4-letter word. I'm like, cameras. I'll say my pace, because my situation is kind of the opposite, actually. I know I was telling you before, I just got new students Thursday. So always exciting. Usually it's kind of refreshing. This year I was like, no, like we just got in routine. I just not figured this out, but like got to where it wasn't awful. So that seems like figuring it out these days. And then it's like all new people. And I was telling Marcy, I had a girl walk in who'd like completely changed her hairstyle between like Friday and today. And she walked in and I was just kind of guessing. I'm like, oh God, it kind of looks like Aviana, but I can't tell. And so I just sort of like, you know, you're staring at the eyes, like, is this you? And they're like, hi, you know, I mean, you can't see the face. So we're hybrid. 80% of my school is online. 20% is in front of us, but this semester it's like a little bit higher. It's like 25% in front of us. So I've got 10 to 15 roomies and then 20 to 22 Zoomies in the same class. And so it's like a lot of hold on, no, hold on, hold on. And then like explaining what you're doing and self-narrating all the time. I'd say that has been really hard. And now, Marcy, you're making me think on something I hadn't thought about because there aren't those relationships. Those are the things those are the things that I have felt the worst about myself as a teacher, because I think I'm really good with student relationships usually, and not having those this year. I hadn't thought about this until just this moment, like not having those this year and not being able to forge them in the ways I normally do, like just having to sit and be like, and just every day go, I swear I'm not a sitting teacher. And they're like, yeah, right. Like you're literally sitting all day, every day. So it looks like I'm lying. Yeah, never met him before. I won't teach him again because I only teach levels 1 and 2. I hadn't thought about that, but that's been very difficult in terms of engagement. So what I say that to say about the cameras, I teach in a large public high school, 3,300 kids. Cameras are not the hill I'm going to die on. I have yet to see anybody's video this year, but I did it to myself. So before you go and like gasp, I did it to myself because my colleagues had so many incidents the first couple of weeks of school, like August 12th, we started. And I'm telling you, when like teachers in the hallway in tears, teachers on Teams going, help, you know, you did webinars like all summer because I'm a weirdo. Like, you know how Zoom works, help. How do I lock it down? How do I do this? Because kids were, you know, drawing body parts, like we know which body parts, okay. Drawing body, it's never girls, right? Why is that? Okay. Anyway, forgot we're recording. But like body parts, swear words, like yelling swear words, racial epithets, making their like camera, making their profile picture like porn or like something inappropriate, screenshotting other kids' cameras and then like blasting them on Snapchat, making fun of their house, putting like sexual images, putting them in porn, holding pornography up to the you name it, it happened. And like you said earlier, Marcy, you and I were talking, the Zoom links were just like zipping around. So it was like you had kids, you know, signing in with fake names from some middle school. So I say that to say, kids tried to turn their cameras on. I will give them the benefit, like the first day. And I was like, oh, absolutely not. And I was just like, boop, boop, boop. And I was turning them off. And then like sweet kids would be like, I think it can't come back on here. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, no, I turned you off. It was just like muting, like they can't unmute, they can't rename, they can't do anything. I was so scared about that. I'm being super honest. Breakout rooms and like interpersonal in the Zoom, not the hill I'm going to die on this year. I am not engaging students in that way, but I'm lucky that I feel like I'm going to get super judged, but also haven't had any Zoom bombings. So everything's good. And I think a lot of our job is most of our job is to keep students safe. So that's why I say all that. I was more concerned with the relationship with me versus their relationship with each other. So I wanted to kind of focus on other ways, like feedback, other ways of engaging them. I know that's kind of an unpopular opinion, but I don't know. What do you think about cameras?
Well, you know, I think that there are colleagues at my school that, you know, felt that it was mandatory for the students to have their cameras on. I don't mandate it because I think for a variety of reasons. I mean, even at a school like Watkinson, you know, the families tend to be fairly well-to-do. They're 2-parent working families, but there are a range. The demographics span a range. And no, I do not require the students to have their cameras on. I do occasionally, especially, you know, like when the way that the school year has worked is that we began virtually on August 31st. Began in person, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there were two incidences of COVID on campus. Now, the cases were not due to transmission on campus. They were due to outside transmission. Mm-hmm. So during those times, the school, by virtue of the school's reentry policy, we did go virtual for a period of time. Mm-hmm. We also are virtual right now because part of the reentry plan dictated that between Thanksgiving and the New Year, that because we can't not stop families from traveling, they're going to travel.
Right. Oh.
That if they have to quarantine going and coming back, they have time to do that. So we are scheduled to go back onto campus next Tuesday. Of course, that depends on what is happening with the positivity rate here in town, statewide, nationwide, et cetera. So all that to say, when we first went virtual last March, late March, there were students that didn't have their camera on. Either the camera was genuinely broken.
Right.
And, you know, I figured that it was more about their comfort than it was about what I felt I needed. Mm-hmm. And I knew the students were with me without their camera. Now there could be shenanigans going on without the camera on. Okay.
100%.
You know, right. Who knows? But I think that it's been fine. I feel that I get more engagement with their cameras being off. But what I did say to them when we first went virtual 5 weeks ago, I said, you know what, y'all? Everyone turn your camera on just for a minute and say hola.
Just once.
Just hola, and ask each other in Spanish how you're doing. Mm-hmm. Just reconnect to your faces.
Right. 100%.
Okay. Now, those of you who want to go back to your camera being off, go ahead.
Go back. Go do your
but
thing.
My camera is always on.
Mm-hmm. Right. Same.
And students tell me, Miss Webb, your camera's off.
Like, oh.
Yeah. Oh. But yeah, my camera is always on regardless. I do turn it off if we're working independently. I do turn my mic off if working independently.
Oh, amen.
But it's on. I'm full on.
Yeah.
So that's my personal philosophy. I don't really care.
Yeah, I agree. I have to really keep myself in check. And I see my summer class friend Marcus is here. Yeah, Marcus and I are agreeing kind of in the chat. Like he's like, yep, same. Like if you want to, great. I'm also lucky my school doesn't mandate me to, and so they haven't said that that's tied to any attendance. Thank goodness. I'm glad, because I feel like, I know we say things like, you know, I'm teaching to a screen of black screens. Like it's so depressing, but like maybe, but I feel like, you know, I have to really watch myself and figure out what it is about this experience that's hard in terms of engagement, because a lot of it, I'm like, ooh, that's teacher centering. Like it's things that bother me and they don't really care. You know, cameras, they're like, no, it's fine. Like, you know, I mean, we were talking earlier, like, you know, Bob Ross, Dora, Reading Rainbow, like they didn't need us. You know, they were just like, da-da. And I kind of see that as the same kind of thing. It's like, you know, it's just kind of a talk show. And so and if I get frustrated, which I did today, 2 times, I went, you know what, it's fine. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. No, stop, enough about you. And I was like, I was snarky about it because the roomies were just silent. And I was like making eye contact. Like, you don't need the mask for eye contact. And they're going, what? And then they're like, what was that? I'm like, you know what? Like, never mind. And it was just because the bell had rung and they didn't say goodbye. And I was like, why am I letting that bother me? They're 15. They're not thinking anything about, they're just like, okay, see you tomorrow, whatever. I have to really watch myself, or else I'll ascribe a lot of intent on stuff that does not matter. And also just puts me in the like, you know what I mean? Like puts me in the center of it. And then I'm like, oh, let it go. I think cameras is one of those things. But I also don't have any administrators telling me to do certain things with the cameras. So, which is really nice. That brings me to my next question. So do you think, like, so having said that about the cameras, especially in a language class, right? We're like, but they have to speak. I mean, I literally just told you, I teach 1 and 2. So novices doing interpersonal is a little bit dicey anyway. Yeah, it's just like, terrible tennis players volleying. Like it's not gonna, the ball's just like flying off and they're giving each other terrible input. Like, de donde soy tú tienes? Sí, yo quince voy Atlanta. And I'm like, oh, like this is awful. Like, never mind, canceled, interpersonals canceled. No, I'm teasing, kind of. So mine aren't doing interpersonal with each other. Do you think this has changed? And I just am naming one mode. Do you think it's changing engagement, this experience? Or do you think we needed to have looked at certain aspects of engagement before all this, if that makes sense? Like defining engagement, not compliance. Are we shining a light on things, or is this a whole new, totally different experience, do you think?
Well, I think it's made us look at it in a different way, because I think that as long as students are in front of us, we have a different read of the room that certainly I don't have when my students are a box on a computer screen and with the camera off.
Right.
At the same time, yeah, I do think it has forced us to reconsider, well, what is engagement? How does engagement happen? What things produce engagement, and which things turn the faucet on engagement off? I think, not mandating that students have their cameras on, because some for different reasons may feel uncomfortable. Having a direct window into their private lives, their bedroom, their
100%.
home. So I certainly feel that the energy that it requires of me on certain days is more. And when I say that I'm an introvert, I really am. I am a classic introvert. I do not need others to draw energy from. And so I recognize, to engage with my students, I need to have a certain degree of energy mentally that I'm bringing to them, because I'm drained at the end. In many ways, I'm more drained in person than I am online, interestingly enough. Yeah. But I recognize that because I don't see them in 3 dimensions online, that I have to do more to pull them out. For example, one of my Spanish 4 classes is as quiet online as they are in person.
Oh, interesting.
So no surprise there. But once I was waiting for students to answer, and I just went into the Jeopardy theme song and got through the whole thing before anybody said anything. And they shared that. If Miss Webb sang the whole theme song because nobody was speaking, I said, because I figured, hey, I may as well entertain myself while I wait.
Right.
And so, I do quirky things like that. But I think that it's a comfortable space in that when students enter the room, I acknowledge them. I connect to them just by saying their name. I think that's a very easy way of engaging students.
Absolutely.
Or noticing something about them, or asking a question. So, and with that, in Spanish 4 class, for example, I'm speaking Spanish most of the time.
Right.
Lower level classes, I do the same thing. As they
right.
come in, I say their name. I notice something about them, make a connection, and then we move on. It may take 10 minutes of my class, but I feel that doing that at the beginning, seeing them, acknowledging them, hearing what they have to share, that may take 10, 15 minutes. But to me, it
worth
brings health to the rest of the class.
Yeah. Well, again, because it'd be teacher centering to go like, we need to move on. Like, we need to get to this activity. For whom? For whom? Like, it's the student, are we focused on learning or teaching? Like, if we're focused on learning, we can't, you got to set the stage. You're mentioning 2 things that we do all the time anyway, but we've had to rethink because you know, how often you stand outside the door, right? Hi, come in. Da, da, da. Now it's like you're standing outside the virtual door, like gatekeeping. I'm like in the waiting room, like, I'm watching you, you know, who's going to put their name as Seymour Butts, you know, or whatever. It's a classic, but I don't appreciate it. You know, who am I? What's going to happen? You know, that kind of thing. And I could see how that would be easy to forget, you know, just to not say their names, like, oh, yay, Marcy's here, Idam, Angela, you know, that kind of thing. Like, I was listening to something the other day and they said, and I can't remember what the other 1/4 is, so this is not going to be memorable, but it was teaching is 3/4 acting and 1/4, I don't remember what the other 1/4 was, but I remember thinking, amen. So it doesn't matter. But the 3/4 acting, 100%, like 100, and even with the mask, you know, I'm going like, trying to like, you know, act out things, just eyebrows. That's all we have these days are like hands and eyebrows. And still genuinely expressing excitement that they're present in any kind of way. Because I think before we could require, you know, oh, Marty's here. Okay, Marty, fix your shirt. Thank you so much. Come on in. Because they were coming into our house. So we could police them a little bit more, for lack of a better verb. But now we're in their house. So, you know, it's going to take different things to engage different students. Do you guys have any synchronous or asynchronous requirements? And I say that because I've seen tons of engagement with a mix of the two. So I'm kind of defining engagement as not just the in the moment live stuff, but also like just doing their work and asking questions and commenting and responding to feedback. I kind of see that as an engagement puzzle, like package. I use a lot of GoFormative. We use GoFormative every day because you can put everything in one place and it's amazing. And I see a lot of students, most of my students are like there during the live time, but then the others that aren't, totally like -1 or 2 per class, maybe, do their work later. And so by the time I log in the next day, you know, their work is done. Do you guys have any live, not live requirements, or do you have like freedom to do a mix?
No, we are full on. In other words, I log on to my classes and I teach my classes for, in most cases, while we're virtual, for the full 70 minutes. So we conduct class live, but
right.
online. Now, granted, I don't have access to many of the same resources that I do if I were in my classroom.
Right.
And, you know, if I go back to last spring, I would teach my classes for about 40-45 minutes. And we had the flexibility to do that. I think that now that the students are pretty used to the online format, I do teach closer to the full time limitation of the class. So for the most part, when we're on campus, I would say 90% of the students are on campus on any given day. In the upper school, there may be students at home, virtual. Some families have made the decision that their children will be virtual for the entire year.
Right. Wow.
So we do have students that are full-time virtual students. Most of the students are on campus. And we do have students that are hybrid, mainly due to scheduling reasons. So I do have students in my Spanish 4 class that would normally be in the 9-10 section.
Okay.
But because of scheduling, they are in a classroom somewhere on campus, connected virtually to me while I'm teaching
That's so weird.
Yeah. So I guess we're doing all 3 at the same time, really.
No big deal. You're like, hi, it's like a Dr. Seuss book at this point. You're like, I will teach from my bed. I will teach from a sled. I will teach, like, what am I, on the roof of my house upside down? You know, like, what are we, like, I'll do that too. Do I need to be extended day? I'll do whatever. Like, oh my God, that's intense.
So I guess when you talk about engagement with capital E, okay, you know, just by default, it's learning, schooling has become accessible however you want it. on a
Right.
given day, however you can get it. If a student
Yeah.
is not feeling 100%, but they could still be online,
Hmm.
hey, they're at home, maybe with
Welcome.
sniffles, but they're still with us. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Huh. And you, it's funny because I think a lot of times, yeah, I mean, like you said, like however you can get it. Like I look at voting, I look at census, I look at all the things that matter a lot, and like how they give it to you 6 ways from Sunday. Like, did you want a flyer on your doorstep? Did you want it hung to your mailbox? Do you want it texted from a stranger? Do you want 17 spam calls? Do you want, it's like, how do you want it? However you can do the thing. I think we're at a point where maybe in terms of engagement, I think we've got to look hard at what we're doing, how much we're doing, what's taking, like, what's going in the trash can. Is it like an entire unit? Is it part of a unit? Is it like, I'm not using blah 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 this year? Is it a whole website you used to use? Like, how are we paring down? And then I think too, like, how are we using the resources we have? I said to my colleague next door today, I said, oh my God, like the kids in the moment said, like, what do you do with the ending again today? And I was like, wow, you just wait 1 second. And like 2 seconds later, I was like, edit in the Go Formative. And I just quick uploaded like a Senor Jordan, he has those really pretty like conjugation. I don't, whatever. It's like also like a 4-letter word. Ooh, grammar. We do it. Like I just uploaded one of those images and they were like, oh, thanks. What would you do like in the classroom? You'd be like, hold on, I have 36 kids all the time. So you'd be like, hold on, Jimmy. Okay, Marty, give me one. You want ER too? Do you want IR? No, have a second. No, we're not going to the library yet. Hold on, have a second. Let me get my computer. And then you're like printing out and running like an idiot. Then the printer's out of paper and it never connects to the network. So screw it. Like all of those things. Then they can't like Google it, man. Like, God, why are you asking me anything? I feel like we're going to have to change how we are the keepers of information and how we are the keepers of the resources, which to me fits right into proficiency. Like they can just Google, and they are, like different tenses, all these different things. So we can't be like, ooh, you want preterite? Like how to say I went? You just wait till unit 4. Like, no, they'll just Google it. They don't know. They want to use the things. They want to say the things. I don't even know that we can tell anymore because Google Translate's gotten really good. Like real good. What I love is like, I don't know if yours do this, but with the like middle school, but I mean, kids who are like, me llamo es, soy tengo Meredith. And then it's like plusquamperfect. And you're like, really? Just going to throw it out there with abriacito, like it's nothing, hubiera dicho. Like, oh, okay.
Now I know you didn't learn that from me.
Thank you. You're still saying me llamo es. Are you freaking serious? Like, what? But so those things are obvious, but Google Translate's gotten good. I'd say at this point, in a lot of ways, a lot of my Zoomies, if you told me to like define what they've learned, define what they've acquired, I'm not sure I could in some ways, because I'm like, well, like Liliana tends to blah, blah, blah. But that relationships piece has been a lot in saying, stop looking it up right away. I gave you the sentence frames, literally just copy paste and change the information in parentheses. I gave you me gusta, verb, a veces. Just do the thing, and they're like, pues depende del momento, porque a mí me gusta. Like, it's the trust piece, I think, a lot of times, that before we could kind of prevent because they didn't have every tool at their fingertips. I don't know if you feel like you've seen kind of the same thing, like paring down stuff, getting real choosy, but also like letting go of control in some ways.
In some ways, although, I have to say that the students are pretty good. I mean, just by looking at their work,
Right.
I tell that, yeah, this one definitely made no attempt to look at anything,
Right.
which is a good thing.
Right.
I was just noticing that someone asked, what kind of activities have I found work best? I think that teaching virtually has, especially last spring when a lot of resources were made available for free by different companies, I was able to play around with Pear Deck, which
so
I
good.
really like. I mean, if it's not really that great if you don't have access to the premium account.
Right.
But
Amen.
It's a wonderful tool. So I would bring in Pear Deck one day, Soccer another day, Go Formative another day, a Jamboard another day. So it was literally like a child at, at a toy store. I would just tinker with something, bring it out. And so every day had something a little different because I did want to kind of expand beyond Kahoot and Quizlet as much as I like Quizlet.
Yeah.
I discovered quizzes. I discovered some other online tools that I hadn't had a chance to really play around with. And I know it made a huge difference in terms of engagement for my sixth graders, because every day had some level of novelty to it.
Absolutely.
And I would just kind of weave in the grammar and the other things that can be a little dry and not very exciting for students. It made it more engaging, especially if they could write, draw. There's something called whiteboard dot.
Oh, FI. It's
FI.
fantastic.
I love it.
When it works.
I love the fact that I can hit that button and erase everything if they're getting crazy.
Goodbye.
But they love things like that because I always use my whiteboards in class.
Right.
And I spent days looking for a whiteboard. Like, I got it. There it is. But yeah, everything is different. And I like working with technology, tech tools.
Same.
I'm not afraid, I think, to make mistakes. So I figure, what is my computer going to blow up? Probably not.
Right.
But I was excited about that. So I do try to add some novelty. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think using different things and then kind of like you said, like, and rotate, so like using, this was my year to not try anything new. And it was like, let's just keep doing the same thing. So I'm going to use these 5 or 6 tools. And whereas I think before I would have worried about being boring, this year I'm like, no, we like boring, like we are striving for boring. Because to me, boring's predictable. Boring is safe. Boring has low chaos. It's got, the noise is kind of muffled, like all of that life stuff. And then it's just like greatest hits, now at this point, even with the new students, some of them I've taught like 10 or so last semester, but everybody else is new. And so, yeah, it's just like you said, quizzes, all the things. I'm like, we're going to do a Gim kit. We're going to do Blook it. And they're like, oh, okay. And even if it's like, I roll, they're still reaching for the device. Like, they know how to log on, they know how to sign in. And like you said, they can engage in different ways. They can like draw, Go Formative's fun. They can drop in. I've got one girl who every day to her daily questions, she responds with a GIF. And so then I use my Bitmoji Chrome extension and I'm like, aha. And I type just make like custom Bitmojis. And then like she's a roommate. So she and I are just cracking up together out loud in absolute silence. It's really awkward for everyone else, but not for us. I'm just like, oh, I'll show you. And then she's like, and we just like keep typing back and forth. I mean, we could talk, but like, it's really awkward. And so it's just kind of funny that way, but the same rotation, like Mondays we do this, Tuesdays we do this, or whatever, I think it's helpful for students. I think they like when we're a steady presence. I think a lot of engagement is, do I trust you? Do I feel safe with you? And do I think this is just busy work? I'm much more engaged in our faculty meetings this year because they're virtual. I carry my camera on, I'm grading, I'm making stuff, but I'm listening. But I also know they're only going to be about 20 minutes, period. Like, that's it. So I'm like, yeah, I can listen for 20 minutes because I don't think this is stupid. If they were like an hour and 20 minutes for no reason and basically just reiterated an email, now you're just having a meeting because you think we're supposed to have a meeting. Now you just think you have to engage me for a certain amount of time. And I think that's what this experience has changed for me. Like, I'm not thinking about how long it'll take them necessarily. I'm thinking why I'm assigning those activities. Whereas before it was like filling time, right? Because they're sitting right, like this will take 20, I have 90 minutes. We're on 90-minute blocks every day. So it's like a lot of time, which is cool. We do about 30 minutes a mode, 2 to 3 modes a day, but not anymore. I mean, it takes them however long it takes them. And I've cut out a lot of the extras. I don't know if you've had the same feeling of like, yep, nope. Like looking back at previous years, like skip it. If it takes me more than about 10 minutes to figure out how to make it virtual, I'm like, not worth it. Next. some of my favorite activities, but some of my favorite activities. So I don't know. I don't know if that matters so much. How are you handling the modes? What have been like your favorite sites to use, apps to use? And I can type too as you go. What are some of your favorite recycle, like your greatest hits right now, if you had to list them?
Well, I don't really use apps that much.
Or different like websites, etc.
Well, I guess the standard ones,
Okay.
Conjugamos,
Oh,
tried and true.
there's a place in my heart for Conjugamos.
I mean,
Classic.
hey, it is what it is. You got conjugation troubles? I got something for you.
I got you. And I'm in a ratio. Like I like compete with students and they're like, this is not fair. I'm like, I know, sorry, I'm 17 again. And this is very exciting.
So I like that. Let's see. I mean, in terms of, plugging into current events, I really like CNN in Espanol.
Yeah.
I like that, kind of bring in a little bit of the world and connect that way. As I mentioned, Socrative, Quizlet. I haven't tried GimKit yet. I know. I'm late to the party. I do like Flipgrid.
Love.
And the students like it too. I think. Let's see. I think I mentioned Pear Deck, Socrative, Go Formative. Those are the ones that I have the most experience with. I discovered a new one. It's an interactive worksheet, Wizer, Wizer.
Yeah.
And what's really cool about it is that students can do matching. They can kind of draw the line and connect the words together. Cool. Type in it. They can fill in the blank, move things around. So that one's really good. But a lot of the times I just like just to talk with them and just ask them questions. You talk about interpersonal. Occasionally, since now Google Meet does now have a true breakout room feature, which I really do like. I maybe use it on a rotation of every 10 days. But I just like just interacting with the students. Yeah, it's me talking to them rather than talking to each other, but they're very happy to answer my questions. I do try, of course, I can't ask all 16 students in a Spanish 4 class and have a detailed 5-10 minute conversation, but I do kind of get to everybody over the course of a week.
Right.
And, I'm able to know, okay, ¿viste esa película? ¿Cómo fue esa película?
Right.
And so, I can engage with them that way. Just showing up a few minutes early before a virtual class to kind of see what's going on and, who's there and them sharing things with me.
Right.
That's also, and I think also too, in terms of engagement, and I realize that we try to protect the students, even if we can't really protect them.
Right.
Last spring was a dumpster fire. Okay. I think that any of us can acknowledge that.
What are you talking about? It was the best semester. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, 100% disaster.
And, to some degree, initially, it was like, is anyone talking about what a dumpster fire this time in our lives is? And I said to the kids, I said, you know what? I'm not going to pretend that it's normal. It's not. This is not normal. Okay, this is terrible. At the same time, I said, you got your family, you got your health, your family members are healthy, you're safe. That's a lot to be thankful for. And so I would talk to them like that, but no, it's not normal. I'm not going to pretend with you that it is.
Right.
And I think that they respected me because I said, yeah, this is terrible.
Right. This sucks. And they're like, indeed.
I mean, I know that a lot of us have a lot of discomfort talking about what happened last Wednesday. Right. Thursday, I was like, yeah, it was awful.
Yep.
And we don't have to get deep into things, but I think to at least acknowledge that something has happened and we're genuine about it and we're heartfelt about it.
Right.
And that we appreciate that we're all feeling uncomfortable, even me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that that's also important too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, it goes back to that real, wherever that falls into your comfort, zone, and like that trust, peace, and the whatever. I've seen a lot of conversations, how are you engaging with your students about Wednesday? How are you, whatever? And some people are like, geez, I'm not. Like, do we have to? There's so many interesting perspectives. One person might say, like, can I just keep Spanish, like, or French or whatever, and be like, maybe this is a place where we don't have to talk about all of the disaster happening. Like, we can just play Gimkit, be excited to be in each other's presence, and move on. And then others are, making amazing resources to be able to have that conversation. I mean, I hadn't even thought about the conversation, let alone these people are making great resources for the target language. I was like, oh, we've given up the Spanish this year. 90-10, like 10-90. Thank you. Challenge accepted. So I think the different perspectives on all those things are very interesting, but I think they all come back to being honest, being real, and kind of what, I don't know, what feels like being true to your teacher self. If it makes you too uncomfortable, but you think you're supposed to, then it's not going to come across as genuine, like whatever it is. And I would say the same about engaging with some kind of way of teaching. Sometimes you see people just be amazing at delivering comprehensible input or storytelling, and you're like, oh, I could never be like that person. They've got, like you said, you're like, I might be more introverted. This person obviously is whatever, insert personality here, but who says we have to do exactly what somebody else does, or because it's not going to come across as genuine and as real and as authentic, I guess is the word.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. There was something else you just made me think of. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, you and I engaged one time on Twitter about my blog post about my to-don't list, which has never been longer than this year. Like I could have to-do lists all day, and finally, what was that, like maybe last year? I don't remember, but pre-COVID, so like February. No, it was before that, I think. And I was, like, we make all these to-do lists. We tell ourselves that's what makes us organized and we're achievers, and all these kind of things. But finally, like last year or the year before, I was like, I got to get a to-don't list, because I'm trying to use all of the things. I'm trying to do all the things. I was finding it like I was saying no sometimes, but not all the time. What would you say in terms of engagement? Like, we've touched on cameras, different sites, just kind of your approach, the relationships, also school culture, which I hadn't thought about, but I think that's huge. That school culture and climate, I see those as kind of different. 100% both fuel engagement. I hadn't thought about that, but I'm going to reflect on that. What's on your to-don't list in terms of engagement? Or what's not the hill you're going to die on? Mine's interpersonal with each other. What else? That might be it. That might be the only, cameras. Yeah. Those are not the battles I'm going to fight this year.
Yeah, I think that mine are pretty much the same. Yeah, I mean, I was talking to my department chair this morning. She meets with all of us every month. And I mean, there are things that I've decided that I'm not going to do. I usually do a current events project with my Spanish 4s, and that involves using VoiceThread. Now, VoiceThread is not the most intuitive website for students to use. And last spring, with everything going on, I was doing a lot of triage with interviews and all the rest. I said, I'm just not, as much as I love that project, I'm not doing it. It was too stressful. And I just feel that the students are not in the proper headspace for one thing, but they all have varying degrees of technology. And because that project is so heavily dependent on technology working, I just can't count on the situation this year. So I've had to give up some things that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Watching a film as a class in its entirety. I've had to give that up as much as I do enjoy that, and as much as they enjoyed it. So there were some hard choices, but you know, I've been able to replace them with some other things. I've replaced the Cesar Chavez unit that I really enjoyed doing, and the feature film, with a unit on Celia Cruz.
Cool.
The Adios.
Yeah. Yes.
This textbook series.
Cool.
So, you know, and I was just noticing someone mentioned Bethany.
Yeah, love.
I think engagement also, and I think we all do this, is about reading your students and knowing what they connect to. This year's 8th graders, who I don't teach, as 6th graders, we did a unit on pets. Bethany has the most adorable lesson on pets. And one of the projects was creating a profile, helping an animal shelter create Spanish profiles for pets to be adopted. Almost every child in that class had a pet.
Love it.
And I said, there we go.
Absolutely.
I mean, they loved it. And so it's also just connecting to what your students respond to.
Yeah.
And that I told Bethany, I typed on Facebook to her, I said, that unit struck gold with my students.
Love.
So I just encourage, you know, it may not be a huge thing, but if you could find units that resonate with your kids, do them.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they don't fulfill all of the goals that you as a teacher have or that your department has, but they go a long way in recognizing what's important to your students while also sneaking in those things that matter to you.
Absolutely. Well, and like it could have worked great with the 8th graders, and then the next period of 8th graders is like, this is stupid, and you're like,
yeah,
I will show you stupid, you know, like,
yeah,
you want stupid activities? I got stupid activities. You know, like, oh my God, like we sometimes so react from a place of like emotion, or, you know, again, like we get so excited about things that we think are going to engage them. This experience has been so interesting. Not that I feel like I conceptualize expectations and standards a little bit differently. This is just, you've got to understand my parents. This is just like how I was raised. Vacations and trips were always different. You know, vacation was you don't do anything. The plan is no plan. Trips are, we're up at 7, like we need to go do the things, chop, chop, shower. And so I think a lot about those things that we lump in the same categories. And to me, standards and expectations, my standards haven't gotten lower, but my expectations are way lower. And that's been a really nice thing, because the things before I think would have ticked me off, don't, or I'm not like emotional because I'm like, this is all disaster. And my expectations for myself are totally different. So if first period loves the pets, and I put the unit in the chat because it's so good, put like loves the pets, and then second period's like, this is stupid, and third period's like, this sucks, whatever. I'm like, yeah, maybe it does, and I don't care. I'm not gonna lose sleep. I teach high school. I'm not gonna lose sleep over what like a hormonal like 15-year-old thinks about something that took, you know, has a lot of effort, intention, value. It just maybe didn't hit them quite right this time or whatever, you know, or like, I feel like kids just say stuff too, like, this sucks, you know, and they're just in a bad mood. And then later you go, are we okay? Like, you were kind of grumpy. No, okay. Oh, okay. Are you though? Like, oh, you said some things. Do you feel like I feel like that's gotten easier for me with experience. And I'm really glad to be in this experience now with like 13, 14 years experience. Cause I'm like, oh, thank God. Like, I'm not taking things personally. I don't know if in terms of engagement, like, oh, you like that. Cool. Oh, you hated that. Cool. Like, I don't know. Do you feel like that's helped you?
I do. I mean, I had a case, it was weird because like I said, we just started with my Spanish 4 students, this unit on Celia Cruz. And one student yesterday said, I don't even like any of these artists. It was like a pre-reading activity where they had to connect the musical influence to the singer.
Right.
And I said, okay. I said, okay. ¿A quién te gusta?
Mm-hmm.
¿Cuál
Right.
cantante te gusta? And so I just flipped it around. Like, I'm not going to absorb your negativity. You're not going to steal my
Right.
joy. What do you like?
Mm-hmm.
And then today, the same thing. The student said, I don't even know who any of these artists are. Who do you like?
It's literally the point. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm teaching you
Yeah.
about them.
Who do you like? And who were her influences?
Right. Like,
Oh, I don't know. But that's important to research. Look that
right.
up.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, maybe 5, 10 years ago, that would have really have made me upset. But I heard it and I just turned it around because I said, this is not about me.
Right.
And I even said, you may not know who any of these musicians are. You may not even like their style of music. That's
right.
okay. What you're going to try to do is you're going to try to connect A to B. Go.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's do, like, if you knew it already, why would we be doing it?
Right.
That's so funny. I had a student, Marty will appreciate this. I had a student say, because I like to play Manaz Greatest Hits on YouTube. Somebody uploaded the whole thing to YouTube and there are no breaks. And so I just put it on like shuffle. And it's like several 3-hour anyway, it's the same thing. Just is one album, just back and forth. And I had one student first block go, I can't remember what song it is, but the part where he's like, he does like a screaming thing. And he's like, I think I have this entire album memorized and I have no idea what I'm saying because I play it every day. He's like, I don't even like this music. Was like, my work here is done. And I think several years ago, if he'd have said that, I'd have been like, why are you so rude? Like, why would I have taken that personally? Why would he like Mana? He listens to all, like, that's my, why? Like, it just goes back to what I think a lot of engagement goes back to that we don't talk about enough is like confidence, like all the work, all the like Brene Brown work we do on ourselves about like, shame, vulnerability, all of those things that we as teachers go like, but this took a long time. Thomas Sauer will say, did it? Like it, and also like, is time effort? Like it can take a long time and still suck. I'm like, how dare you? And also I feel super sane. Like this took me 3 hours. He's like, that's a waste of 3 hours. Like, wow. Okay. But like you said, it's like, it's not about me. It's not about me. And I think when we look at engagement, if kids took 30 minutes to do the whatever, or 6 minutes to do the quiz, whatever, they did it. I think at some point the consequences are going to be natural. And we have a lot of talks in my department about the natural consequences. If they're all taking the quiz and they're sending screenshots to each other, which we know they are, so like moving right along, they're absolutely sending each other because a kid will do it in like 4 minutes. And I'm like, I had 40 questions. There's no way. And shuffle was on. Very impressive. Like we know that they're doing all these things. It'll come out, like they'll go on to level 3 and they won't know anything. And also pandemic. So does that matter? Like it is what it is. Like it's going to come out in the wash sometime, or someone's going to say, wow, you took 3 years of Spanish. Like, let's have oh no, I don't. What? Like we already know people do that to us when they say, oh, I took Spanish years ago. I don't know a thing. But like the semester you took it, oh, I cheated the whole time. I mean, kids will just say that. Oh, I just Google Translate everything. Okay, great. Like it's not about me. I cheat on the HR videos big time. I Google anaphylactic shock. I've got like 16 tabs open. I'm like, I never watch these videos. I just take the quiz. Like I get a 40. I see all the questions. I make some notes on my notepad. I go back and I mean, who are we kidding? So I think looking at engagement, it's a lot comes back to just how we feel about stuff. And I think that's where we get in dangerous territory, especially in this experience, because it's like, ooh, we have to decenter more than ever. Like, nope, not about you. Doesn't matter. Oh, they didn't do their work. Okay, well, they didn't do their work. You documented, you posted it everywhere. You practically sent smoke signals. Like, you can't put it in any more places. They chose what they chose. But device issues and equity issues aside, we can only do what we can do, which I think is, I don't know, different from before, but I think it'll change how we look at things after all this is over in terms of how are we engaging students and why? What are we making them do? Whatever that even means. I don't know. Yeah, well, I just looked up at the clock and I was like, oh, it's like 8:08. I don't think, yes, Jenny loves Mana. Thank you. Like, it was so good. I'm trying to think if I missed any, I don't think we missed any questions in the chat. I'm going to save the chat because we've got a couple links here.
Okay.
So if you guys, I'm going to put my email back in GCPS. Kate, I have to say it out loud every time. It's like your social or your cell phone number. You're like, I have to send me an email if you want the links from the chat, because I can get those to you. So like we have Bethany's pet unit. I also included a tweet with a graphic of like my favorite sites this year based on the mode. So like my favorite interpretive, interpersonal, spoiler, we're not doing it, and presentational. And that'll be interesting next year in level 3, whatever, colleague problem. Future Meredith doesn't care either. And also presentational mode. So some fun things there. Yay. Marcy, what did we miss? I don't know.
I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
This was enjoyable. It really was. I think that, you don't often think about what you're doing in the moment. And I think that for all of us, I think that this, as teachers, I think that we've all, learned how to reprioritize what's important. And, thinking about the students, that this pandemic anyway, is not anything that is by design on their own part. And they're in trauma. They really are. A lot has been taken away from them. And, so I think, certainly it's been a real lesson in empathy.
Yeah.
For me. Not that
Absolutely.
I didn't have it, but
right.
yeah, it's, I think really putting yourselves in other people's positions more.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you said priority too. I read a book earlier this year that kind of went into the etymology of priority. And I know I've said this a few times in webinars recently, but priority has been a word for like 500 years, 400 or 500 years. And in the last 100, only exclusively in the last 100, we made it plural, which I think is really telling. Nobody ever said my priorities are, blah, blah, blah before like 100 years ago, industrialization and on, and now we say that, well, what are your priorities? What are your priorities? When you actually literally can't, like word root wise, like you get one. And that's really helped in this experience, especially with engagement. What is my priority? I get one. Today, if my priority is, exercise or, more than 9 steps in a day, oh my God, we are so sedentary. This is so upsetting. My pants are like, no, like not today, not the blue ones. Oh, it's fine. Everything's fine. If my priority today is exercise, then no, I'm not going to get to giving all that feedback. Or like you said, I love what you said about pacing out the speaking. Like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna, but I'll do 10 of these, or like I'll do 1 class of whatever, and not feeling like we need to do all the things all the time. That's insane. Just because we can do everything or anything doesn't mean we have to do everything. And so I think like, what's your one today? If my priority is getting all those emails answered, all 80 million all the time, getting them all answered or getting all the grades updated, then that's the one priority. I'm not going to let anything stand in the way of that or whatever. And I think that's really maybe just kind of how we need to operate from now on.
I agree.
I don't know. Yay. Oh, right on. Okay. Well, you guys have, let's see, we've got the chat, we've got all the things. Thank you so much for being here, Marcy. I super appreciate it.
It's just been
glad we're on the same time zone because it's not confusing.
I right. It being like, 3 o'clock Pacific time.
I never know what time it is. I'm like, what time is it where you are? I don't. Okay. Yay. Yeah. And I forgot Joseph, my friend Joe, I was reading like Joseph full out. My friend Joe's also in Connecticut, and he's at an independent school. He's in Thompson at Marienapolis. And yes, I know it. I was like, Connecticut friends. Love.
Well, I also thank everybody for giving of their time this evening. I know you could have been doing anything, and you chose to be here and listen to me and Meredith.
Yay.
And I do appreciate that. I know it's not easy for us teachers to give up time, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah, same. I super appreciate it. We'll be back Thursday. So the same website is bit dot, again, I have to say it out loud, right? That's just what we're doing these days. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boop, is bit.ly/ and then 6 Fs, because I thought it was funny, and then the title never changed, 2021. So we'll be back Thursday. Yeah, so Marcy, like, come back. Sign up for the other ones. We'll be here.
I am. I'm
this
ready.
Thursday is Bill, I believe, Dr. Bill Van Patten. So you kicked us off, and we're rocking and rolling. Yeah, I know. I'm super excited. So I'll open more wine. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. I'll stick around for a sec. I know. Ching ching. We should take a screenshot. Like, ding. Like I said, I was going between the tea and the wine, and I was like, could just do both, like downers and more downers. Ooh, I'll really fall asleep on Marcy. Marcy will be like, I made you the co-host. Like, where'd she go? She's really just tired. Anyway, cool. Well, I'll stay on here a sec if you guys have, bye, Idom. I saw you were the very last. I wanted to make sure you got the email today. I was like, oh no, she signed up like not last minute, but right before I sent the email, and I went, oh no, I almost DM'd you the link, but then I sent it on time. Oops, sorry, hold on. Good, okay, yay, bye. I think we had more, I'm looking at the participant list. I think we had more non-Georgia people than Georgia people.
Oh, interesting.
Georgia's kind of up and coming, especially in the Connecticut scene. Joe, you now, listen, Joe. Yeah, Kelly Sita, literally on the screen. It's like Connecticut, Texas, Wisconsin. Where'd Michaela go? Georgia. Marcus, Georgia. I can't see any other names. Myrna's not in Georgia. Myrna, you're not in Georgia. Yeah, I was going to say Alabama. Thank you. Neighbors. Oh, Alabama, national champion. Whatever.
They did it. They did it.
All that. You guys totally have the ability to unmute too, if you want, especially Joe. I always say Joe Cito, and I know it's Joselito, whatever. Joe Cito.
Thank you so much. I so needed this after today.
Yay.
I'm so proud of you. And thank you so much, Marcy. Thank you. Meredith, you're my girl, my baby. I'm so proud of you. Yay. I so needed this. Right before this, I had this conversation of like, they're not talking. It's been the worst day. And I just needed that shot in the arm. So I really appreciate it.
Side note, can I say who you are? Am I allowed to say who you are? Yeah, that's my Spanish teacher. That's like the reason I'm a Spanish teacher. I know. She's amazing, and I'll never stop saying how amazing she is.
No, it's Meredith. It's amazing.
Nope. We even matching for her. No, I'm telling you, literally today, I was a jerk. Like, I was a jerk. Every class, I'd love to say it was one class. It was all three where I was like, no, it's fine. I'll be fine. No, good morning. And then I realized I'm also saying adios and hasta luego. I'm not even sure they know what I'm saying. So like, maybe they don't know that I'm saying goodbye. So they're not saying goodbye. I didn't reflect on that till like 3 p.m. And I was like,
no, literally when you said, I literally had the conversation with me, adios, hasta luego. And it's like, I literally, sí, señora, oh, hasta luego también. Yeah. And they just, it's because of these stupid earbuds. They don't.
Right.
They don't
they're like, what? You've said something super deep, like, Chelsea, I really been thinking about you. I know you mentioned your family was going, and they're like, what? You're like, I'm so vulnerable right now. Like, oh my God. I can remember, Marty, you saying, I remember somebody like I don't know why this sticks into my head. These are the things I remember. Somebody standing up, like, because you know how you had the two looking at each other, like two groups of like 16 or 18 or whatever. And you looked at each other, and then you had the center aisle. I remember you standing in the center aisle, like sophomore year, and somebody stood up like early before the bell, and you were like giving directions for tomorrow, like y mañana, and they stood up, and you went, hey, I'm talking here. And I was like, she is talking here, like at 15, like, because like also, and I think of that probably 3 times a month where I'm just like, hello, I'm talking here. And they were like genuinely surprised. They just weren't thinking, like they weren't paying attention. They were just like, well, it's the time we leave now. And you're like, so I might need to change my approach, because I just, like, they literally can't hear me. And I'm going, same time, same channel. All right, see you tomorrow. No, you look nice today. And I'm just like out of control.
No, but I guarantee you there are kids that are just like you that are going, yes, Senora White, see you tomorrow. And that's what matters.
See you tomorrow. Oh, it was so funny. Like literally, I know. I'm talking here. I'll never forget that. Hey. Sigh. No. Joe, what were you gonna say? I feel like all of a sudden your head moved and it looked like you went to say something, and I figured it was like Connecticut-y. And I was like, ooh, like connections.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, Marcy, I look forward to, I'm gonna hunt you down now, and I'm gonna be in your hair all the time.
Well, now you know where I am.
Yeah.
How long have you been at Marionappolis?
This is my 14th year.
Oh, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my first introduction to Marionappolis was when I was working in college admissions. And my recruitment areas was Connecticut. So I think I actually visited virtually every high school in Connecticut.
Cool.
And at the time, his name escapes me, but he was one of the loveliest guidance counselors I had ever met at Marionappolis. And I had never been to that part of Connecticut.
Very few people have.
Yeah, but it was lovely. Lovely visit, lovely people. And I'm glad that you're there. You seem to like it. You've been
there. You know, I moved to Connecticut. I grew up in New Hampshire, and that's where I went to college. And I you know, came across Marionappolis. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it for 2 years, and then I'll move back to New Hampshire. And that was
14 years later.
14 years ago. So it's a nice school.
Can't get rid of me.
Good.
Good. Well, and also Joe's super modest right now because he's also like does like 7 different jobs. I feel like you're like the most, I always joke with you in my head. I don't know if I've said it out loud, but I've been like, you drive the Zamboni for crying out loud. Like, you know how the floor waxing Zamboni?
But Marcy
say at my school, like,
just literally
that's who
life
has
at
the
an
real
independent
control.
school.
Yeah, you've got like every job. It's like Joe's, you know, assistant superintendent, head football coach, and drives a Zamboni. Like, Joe's
Marcy
like,
knows everyone at an independent school does like 6 different
all
things.
hands on deck.
Yeah, you do so many different.
Do it all.
And then that
principal.
You're like, oh, who's gonna plan the field trips next week? You know?
Who's gonna, meanwhile, public school, Kelly and I are like, bye. And Milan like, don't sign me up for that. You know, they're like, hey, we sent out an email. We're like, that's weird. I don't think I got that email.
Yeah, no.
My internet's not working.
Peace out. Some new teacher's turn.
Thank you. What? I sniffed that. That feels like a job for a 22-year-old. You know, like, goodbye.
Right. You know, I did that when I was 22.
Same.
I'm sure that there is someone who really wants to do it, or they think they do.
Yeah, 100%. When I was 22, I sponsored a dance team called the Chatelaines, which is French for Lady of the Castle. And do I know any? No. That was it. Shut up, Joe, because it's going to get better. Their dance was military-style hand movements. I will message all of you, like, YouTube clips. Here's what they do at the football games. It's like, I'm not kidding you. Like, the whole football game. It's incredible. And also they're really in sync, so it's like pretty good. It was real competitive. I was like, what 7th circle of hell have I entered into?
Oh my God.
That's incredible.
It was